is normally test section. This is called test section, and the this is equal to D, where D is the dia of borehole. Now the packer's length is normally this length. This length is normally 5 times of D. So after doing this test, after doing this setup, what you do, you start pouring water from here. And when this tube is full, because it is water table already here, so water will come up also. So up to here, it is all groundwater will be filled up. Above this, you fill up the tube and then you cover it. You can cover it with your thumb also. So when you cover it with your thumb, obviously you must have seen in your high school experiments also that when you fill water in a burette and you just cover it with your thumb, the water does not go down. Or if you take any thin tube, glass tube, and you insert that glass tube in a tumbler of water, water will enter into the tube. Then you cover that tube with your thumb on the top, the water will not fall down. Water will fall down only when you remove your thumb. Because of the air pressure, the water goes down. Same is here. The moment you fill up this tube, you cover this with your thumb, water will not fall down. And then you set your stopwatch and then let it go up to some level. Let it go up to some level. So you just note down that in T time, which can be 15 seconds, 20 seconds, you take 5, 6 readings, then how much water goes down. So as I explained last time also, that initially it takes some time to arrive at the steady state conditions. But once the steady state conditions are arrived, then it is your borehole is ready for the test. Then you take 5, 6 readings and note down the readings in a tabular form, and then the interpretation is done. So,
So,
yeah, yes, please.
so this step made the test section of length D
Yeah.
same to the diameter of the borehole. Then what's this 5 times of D?
No, it is this one. It is 5 times of D is the pecker length. You just see this
Okay.
hatching portion.
Okay, sir.
You see this hatching portion. So pecker length should be 5 times of D, so that due to uplift pressure, the peckers are not removed. Peckers are not, removed there. Peckers should remain there. Okay. So this is the table that serial number, then time in minutes, then water level in intake pipe. Then next is the height of water level, at time t. So height, or say ht, is equal to water level in the intake pipe minus elevation of groundwater table. Now, then the permeability is calculated by this relationship, is d square upon 8L log H1 upon H2 upon T2 minus T1. So here D, I have already, sorry, this is D, small d. So here small d is the dia of intake pipe, and R is the radius of borehole, which is equal to capital D by 2. L, I have already explained that it is the length of the test zone, is already explained in the previous figure. This is test section L. This is normally equal to D. And H1 upon H2, I am going to explain now. Now, H1 is head of water in standpipe at time t1 above piezometric surface, and H2 is equal to head of water in pipe at time t2. Now, how these H1 and H2 are calculated? You have to plot a curve. This is HT upon H naught. This is log scale. And this is time in minutes. So let us say it is 0 minute. This is say 95 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 55, 60, 75, something like this, say 90, 95. And this is 0.001, say this is 0.002, so say 0.005, this is say 0.04, can be anything, 0.1, say this is 1. So when you draw the curve for HT upon H naught, initially the curve will be having a curve, then it will be a straight line. Then it will be a straight line. After that, what you do, you draw from this point a line parallel to this straight line portion. This is straight line portion. This is some curve. Some curve. Now you draw a line which is parallel. Parallel to straight line portion. Now, at different time intervals, what you do, you just draw a line. Let us say it is T1. Say it is 19 minutes. Okay, I request all of you to please mute yourself because my sound is, is being echoed. Kindly mute everybody. Then you randomly choose any point for T2. Say this is T2. It can be anything. It can be say 40 minutes. So for this will be, this point will be H1 upon H naught. For this, corresponding to this will be H2 upon H naught. So in the previous equation, you see you need H1 upon H2. So if you have value of H1 upon H naught and H2 upon H naught, then you can definitely calculate from here what is the value of H1 upon H2. That you can do it. So you just plug in all those values into that equation, and by this you can calculate the value of permeability. So it is a very simple test. This Packer test is very, very popular. Sometimes I can give this type of question in the exam also that explain the Packer test. So it's a very simple, quick test, fast test, and very, very reliable. Now I will explain you the last method of the field permeability, and that is based on the principles of well hydraulics. Now the whatever methods I have discussed so far, those methods are based on pumping in methods. Pumping in means we are inserting some water into the ground, and then we are noticing or we are noting down the time, how much time it is taking to to be absorbed into the ground, or to just to be absorbed into the groundwater. So that is, or when we are inserting some water to the ground. So well hydraulics principle is based on pumping out methods, pumping out methods. For pumping out methods, firstly let us try to understand what is aquifer. So aquifer, these aquifers are permeable formations which permit which permit appreciable amount of water through them under ordinary conditions. So aquifers can be of two types. One is unconfined aquifer, or it can be confined aquifer. Confined aquifer. So we do not know what is happening below the ground, but when I started my first lecture on this permeability, I said that we are dependent on the porosity of the soil. If the soil is not permeable enough, then we cannot get any amount of water from this. So we can come across either unconfined aquifer or the confined aquifer. So we have to manage with either of these two. Now, besides the aquifer, there is one more term that is called uh, aquiclude. Aquiclude. What is aquiclude and aquifuse? These are impermeable formations which contain water but are not capable of transmitting a significant quantity of water. So aquifuse basically is a impermeable formation which neither contains water, this contains no water. So once it does not contain any water, it cannot transmit also. Now the next term is the specific yield. Specific yield. Specific yield. So it is basically the capacity of a formation to contain water. One thing we should remember that high porosity, please mute yourself. I don't want any kind of disturbance. So, high porosity does not indicate large quantity of water always. We should remember. So we can ensure large quantity of water, large quantity of water only, large quantity of water only when flow is under gravity. When flow is under gravity. So specific yield basically is defined as percentage of volume of water which after being saturated can be drained by gravity of the total volume of aquifer. Now the next term is the uh, coefficient of permeability and transmissibility. So this coefficient transmissibility is called capital T. So at the moment I am just telling you that T is equal to B into K. But what is B? K already you know. What is B? I will explain you later. Meanwhile, let us try to understand the pump out method through unconfined aquifer. Pump out method through unconfined aquifer. So let me draw a figure. Let us say you make a well. This is the ground level. Well, you can consider it like as a borehole followed by a insertion of tube inside. Or let us say a well, simple a village well, which you might have seen in the villages that some wells are there. So friends, what happens? It is a well, and this is the impervious layer. Impervious layer, as the terminology is self-explanatory, it is impervious. Means you can say in the geotechnical terms that it is clay soil. Means below this, even if water is there, it cannot come up. Impervious, because it is not permitting any water to pass through it. Whereas above this hatching line, this is all a pervious layer. So this is called unconfined aquifer. It is called unconfined aquifer. So let us say through this well, you start pumping out water. So let us say this is the center line of this well. And if this is the O point of center line, let us say this is x-axis, this is y-axis. And once you start extracting water from this well through pumping, obviously you will agree with me that some water will ultimately start coming up. Let us say this is the initial water table. This is, for example, is the initial water table. So just try to visualize you are pumping out water from this well. So there will be a sort of cone of depression. A cone of depression will be formed. Means a sort of, this is called cone of depression. Means water trajectory or water profile shall be like this, which I have drawn through these lines. It is called cone of depression. It is called cone of depression. So you can verify it yourself by inserting two piezometers into soil. Say this is piezometer 1, this is piezometer 2, this is piezometer 2, this is piezometer 2. Let us say this is H1, this is say H2, this is H2. And where this meets, let us say this is H. Means cone of depression where it meets the water table, then let us say this point is at H from this. So these are piezometers. These are piezometers. Piezometer already you know. Piezometer means the tube which you insert into the water automatically moves up into the tube. That is called piezometer. Let us say this distance is S, and the radius of this radial distance is R1, and for this radial distance is R2 from the center. And say the radius of this well is small r, and the radius of the cone of depression, maximum radius is capital R up to here. So I have defined all the points. Now let us choose any point P which has the coordinates xy onto this cone of depression. Now we should always remember the Darcy's law. Darcy's law. Here also we will apply the Darcy's law, but that is the easiest one. So we know that it is Q is equal to KIA. So let me write IA. So here AX is the area of cross section of saturated part of aquifer. Saturated part of aquifer at point P. So if you take the area, you all are mathematicians, it will be 2 pi r. 2 pi r means x. 2 pi r, that is x in the x direction, into y. This is the area. So it is 2 pi xy. And what will be hydraulic gradient? Ix at P. Ix hydraulic gradient at P shall be equal to dy upon dx. So we can write that Q is equal to K into area, that is 2 pi xy into I, that is dy upon dx, or we can also write it as equal to Q dx upon x, 2 pi ky into dy. So now you can integrate it. Now you can integrate it from small r to capital R, and this you can integrate from small h to capital H. So it will be equal to q log e x small r to capital R is equal to 2 pi k y square upon 2 from small h to capital H. And on simplification, you will get from here q is equal to pi k h square minus small h square upon log to the base e r upon small r. Or if I want to convert it logarithmic, if I want to convert to the base 10, then it will be equal to pi means 3.14, and so it will be equal to 1.36 k h square minus small h square log to the base 10. So this is the value of the permeability for the unconfined aquifer. So this type of derivation is also generally asked in the midterm exam, although midterm exam will not be there in this very semester, but definitely in the exam sometimes we prefer to ask this type of question. Now friends, let me tell you some important clues. The important clues is that normally the value of capital R is in the range of 150 to 300 meters. It depends on the pumping, means what is the capacity of the pump. It is 1 horsepower pump, 2 horsepower pump, and also it depends on the soil properties. So it can have any value between 150 to 300 meter. Now there are some expressions which give some approximate value. Approximate expression are also available, that is R is equal to 3000 S into square root K. S I have already defined in the figure. So these all are in meters. R, S are in meters. Are in meters. And K of course is in meter per second. Now in this equation which I have written here, if you write h square minus small h square as equal to h minus h into h plus h, then you can have a little different shape of the equation. How? So S already I have defined. S, if you refer the figure, S is defined as capital H minus small h. So we can also write that S plus 2h equal to h plus h. So if you just write this one as equal to h minus h into capital H plus small h, then you can substitute this value of h plus h as s plus 2h, and then that refined equation also you can get. So let me write it for you, that if you substitute those values there, then you can also rewrite this equation as equal to pi ks into s plus 2h upon and this, on simplification, you can also write, if you want to remove with the value of pi, then it will be equal to 1.36 Ks S plus 2L upon log to the base 10 R upon R. So, but the equation which you have derived here, that is the most popular general equation to remember. Okay, so this was the derivation for the unconfined aquifer. This derivation which I have done just now, that is based on certain assumptions. Assumptions are the flow is horizontal, and uniform. Then aquifer is homogeneous. This is also part of assumption that aquifer is homogeneous, isotropic, and of infinite areal extent. Then there is one more assumption, that velocity of flow is proportional to the tangent of the hydraulic gradient. Then next is coefficient of transmissibility T, capital T, is constant at all places and at all times. And then flow is laminar. We presume that it's a laminar flow, not a turbulent flow. So these are certain assumptions. So now let me discuss the confined aquifer. What is confined aquifer? Please try to understand. So this is the same ground level. Then this is the well. It is a well which you have driven into the ground. This is the same impervious strata below this. Now at the same time, you come across one more impervious strata. So this is the confined aquifer. Means I have already defined what is aquifer. Aquifer is the body which contains water. And as I explained last time also, that whenever you do hand pump fitting in your house or submersible pump, then that technician looks for this confined aquifer or say unconfined aquifer. Depending upon the ground or the receptivity of the ground, there can be the aquifer. Either it can be confined like this in this figure, or unconfined like the previous figure. So aquifer is the body which contains water, or you can say it is a bowl. It is a bowl kept by the nature within the ground, and that bowl contains water. That water only you extract through hand pump or through submersible pump. Now here also the same thing. It is the center line. It is small q. The water is being extracted by you. So let us say water has come up up to this level. This is the initial piezometric surface, same, everything. Then this is the cone of depression, the cone of depression. And here also you choose any point P with XY coordinates. And same S1, S2, you fit the piezometers. You fit the piezometers. And this is H1, this is H2, this is S1, this is S2, S2. Same small r, and XY coordinates here also, X and Y coordinate. So once you draw water, obviously, let me draw these arrows. It means water is being attracted towards this well, and ultimately this water is coming up. This water is coming up to you for your consumption. So this is at R1 and this is at R2, same as I explained in the previous case also. And capital R is this R. The derivation is almost the same. The only difference is that this thickness of this confined aquifer is small b. This b, as I said some 10 minutes back, that this b I will explain you later on. So this is that b. B is called the thickness of the confined aquifer. Now, same as in the previous case, Ax, because ultimately again Darcy's law shall be valid. So Ax in this case at P will be equal to 2 pi x b, 2 pi r into thickness in the vertical direction. So 2 pi x b. Ix is the hydraulic gradient. So this is equal to pi upon dx at P point. So Darcy's law, Q is equal to KIA, K dy upon dx. This is I. Area is 2 pi xb. So this is Q. Now you integrate it. You integrate it. Integrate. Dx upon x will come here. Let me write here. Q small r to capital R dx upon x. This will be equal to 2 pi kb small h to capital H dy. So on simplification, you get the value of Q as equal to 2.72 B K H minus H upon log to the base 10 R upon R. So B into K, this can be written as transmissibility capital T. So this is equal to 2 pi capital T into S, H minus H is S, upon log E R upon R, or you can convert it into the log to the base 10 also. So this will also be equal to so this is the value of Q in case of confined aquifer. Here T is the capital T is the coefficient of transmissibility this is equal to B into K. So S I have already explained you in the figure, that is called drawdown in the well. So this is the method of you know, the field method of determination of permeability uh, K by pumping out methods. So both the derivatives are important from exam viewpoint also, and you should read it very thoroughly. Okay. So today I can stop here. Tomorrow I will discuss the effective stress principles and related to the permeability problems. But in case you have any question, you can ask me. I will be sending you these notes of today also. Yes, please.
Sir, we talked about specific yield of aquifer. There you said something like high porosity does not indicate large quantity of water, and we can ensure
Yeah,
large quantity only when flow is under gravity. I
yeah, yeah,
didn't get
yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
is
Yeah. I'm just saying that this is not the guarantee. I mean, this is not the guarantee also, because it depends on the impurities in the soil, the admixtures present into the soil, and the pumping methods also, and the homogeneity of the strata or the aquifer also.
how
So
did we
porosity.
come to like from where did this come from? We were talking about capacity of the specific yield, and we suddenly jumped to quantity. High porosity. I was not able to link the porosity with the capacity. How come?
Uh, well, as a thumb rule, we can say that if soil is porous enough, permeable enough, then water yield will be more. But this statement I wrote that due to many other factors, sometimes despite of being the high porosity, uh, the yield as per expectations may not come. But generally, in 90% cases, yes, if soil is sufficiently porous, then we can expect good yield. Okay,
Okay.
that's why I said that this is based on certain assumptions. It's based on certain assumptions.
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
sir, how about this linking with gravity? Like, if flow is under gravity, we have high yield. How did this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me explain you. Let me explain. In fact, what once say this is the ground level. This is the ground level. So below the ground, let us say it can be 30-meter down, 50-meter down, 100-meter down. The flow, depending upon any water body, let us say water body is here, and if flow is in this direction, because below the ground also, the ground slope may be like this also. Let us say your house is situated here, or let us say this is house number one. House number one. If flow is in this direction, then yes, you can get the pump out of water at this level. But let us say your friend's house is somewhere here, and gravity flow is in this direction, and this is, let us say 500-meter down. Then you may not get water. This man may not get water. The 500-meter down is not possible. If you go to any area, say Rajasthan area also, or many other states in India which are deprived of the groundwater, so the it depends on the direction of the, or the, say the if the flow is under gravity within the aquifer body, then you can get the water. So this also links up with the porosity. Your soil may be porous. Soil is porous here. But if the gravity flow is, of course, in this direction, or gravity flow may be like this also, it depends what is the gravity, if it is gradual or abrupt. Because water movement is based on what? Water movement is based on the voids. In which direction the voids are there. You remember in one of the lectures I said that water flows through the infinite number of invisible tubes, right? Those tubes are not existing in the form of copper tube or brass tube or glass tube in the ground, but tubes made of the continuity of the voids. So it depends what is the gravity of the tube. It is abrupt, or it is mild, or it is not mild, it is just uniform only. just like this only, just like this only. So a gravity flow is necessary, then you will get a good yield, a good quality of water, and also a high yield of water. So the movement of the water within the uh, aquifer body is important.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no questions, okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm